In the neighborhood, Tuesday. It is now 12:27 in the morning, and we are going to be talking about pretty much what we've been talking about, what everybody's been talking about. And maybe, I think, what's even more important is how could the president, how could this have gotten this bad, and why aren't people recognizing this for what it is? I'm not sure what the president can do at this point. I don't know. I don't understand it. I find it absolutely beyond fascinating how something like this could be as effed up as it is right now. If that makes any sense to you. And if that makes any sense, if that in any way conveys any sense of rationale. I think it goes without saying, I think at this point, I think it probably goes without saying that we are, I think, very seriously, at the end of the trajectory, okay? Something now has to be done to fix this. There are two separate stories. One is the Epstein case, but also what people are saying for the first time ever about the state of Israel. And what is happening there blows my mind. I'm telling you something, dear friend. I never thought I'd be hearing this in my life. Never thought I would be hearing this from people, from so many people, and it's picking up a momentum so that in order for you to be cool, you have got to say this. In fact, what I'm seeing is most of this rhetoric, if you will, coming from what would be called the right wing or the conservative faction. I'm going to say this again. Up till now, it was understood. I mean, it was understood that in no way would you ever question, even say AIPAC or anything along those lines. Never. You would never, ever say that. Never. It never came up. It never came up by and for and from anyone. It's the most important thing in the world. And now you're seeing people like Piers Morgan and this new contingent of what would be called the conspiracy, the right wing, excuse me. This new group of people who are coming forward and they're saying more and more, including this Dave Smith and others, speaking directly towards Israel. So you understand this. You've got the Epstein thing. And I wish people would just forget this Mossad. You do know that's a stupid thing, right? Thank you, Beijing. You do know this. Cody Fitz, just say the USS Liberty. Whenever you don't know what to say, mention the Liberty. Cody, do you think anything, I'm just curious about this, do you understand how this thing works? Am I reading this correctly, Beijing? By the way, speaking of the cutting room, Saturday night, cutting room, tickets available. Tower of Power keyboardist to see you at the cutting room. He knows the room. Tower of Power, please, pray tell. Pray tell, dear friends. Now, Cody Fitz, by the way, tickets are available. You see where the link is. You see where the tickets are available. Saturday night. And it's not just, I say something and you sit there and you listen and you react and you double over in hilarity. We have questions, we have people bring information out. It's a give and take. We talk about this. And that's what's critical. Now, so there you have it. You can see the link right there. Please act accordingly. I want to ask you this one question. Cody, what would you like to be done regarding the USS Liberty? What would you like to be done? When you bring this up, in fact, it's guaranteed. What would you like to be done regarding the USS Liberty? What would you like to be done? What would you like to be done? It's like when people say harp, okay? Ryan says, I'm not buying that there's a massive exodus from Trump over Epstein. Who voted for Trump solely on this one thing? No. Oh, I'm with you 100%. And we'll be discussing this, obviously, Saturday night at the Cutting Room. Tickets available. Nobody is leaving. Leaving Trump and going where? Where? Where are they going? Where? Scott Belanger said, I'm out. I voted for him. Scott, where are you going, Scott? Where are you going? Tell me. Tell me. Where are you going? You want to leave him and do what? Do you think Trump was involved in Epstein? No. No. Trump hasn't settled one case with anybody. Believe me, if those bastards on the left knew anything about him, they would have already said something. Where's everybody going? Where are you going? Who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for a Democrat? You're going to, do you think Trump, again, what was, Trump, I think this whole thing got out of everybody's hands. And you know how they're getting around the old story of, you know how they're getting around the idea. They're saying why it's not Mossad, is that they're saying he didn't work for Mossad. He didn't work for Mossad. Mossad benefited, they ran it, they coordinated, but he didn't, quote, work for them. You see how that works? So they can say, no, he didn't work for them. He didn't work for the CIA, but the CIA might have been involved in it. I want the list. That's what I voted for. It's the path of least resistance to remove like half of Congress. What is on the list? I want to say this again. What is on the list? What would you like? You got to tell me what you would like. Now, they made a big mistake starting off with this. What list? What would you like? A list of what? You can't say, I want the list, I want the logs, I want the black book, I want the... What exactly? There is no list. There's not a... They don't write a list like the mafia doesn't write a name of who's in this family, who's in that family. There's no list. Now, there may be something supposedly with the DOJ who might have a list of all of the victims, okay? Would you like a list of, tell me specifically what it is that you want. Scott says, you're trying to shame people like me, it ain't going to work. Scott, I don't know what you're talking about. I love you, man. I don't think you know what you're talking about either. I think you have this idea, you have this kind of a diffuse anger, and you're saying things, and you can't answer my question. You're just angry, and I don't blame you. And you're leaving. Where are you going? I don't know where I'm going, but I'm angry. What are you angry about? Well, that's not what I voted for. Well, what'd you vote for? I don't know. I just, I'm not sure what I voted for. Scott, what are you talking about? Well, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm just, okay, please. Seriously. What is everybody talking about? Let's just calm down, because everybody's just getting upset. and they want to leave, which is fine. You can leave. I don't know where you're going to go, because when you hear people, it's ill-conceived. You're not really sure what you're angry about. What I would be angry about is what the president is talking about, this thing with Putin, which is so ridiculous. He's out of his mind. Nobody really cares about that. I'd like to know how he continues to make a return on his investments when he is deceased. How does that work? How do you know he is making a return on his investments? Cody's at it again. USS Liberty expound. Okay, Cody. Just keep saying USS Liberty. Just keep saying it. I say, what are you going to do? Liberty. What would you like to do? It's been talked about. It's been, you can Wikipedia it. It's not even remotely a mystery. What exactly would you like done? Craig Roberts sounding in on Epstein. Okay, very good. How about a group of names on paper Jeff Epstein was providing service to? What does that mean? Providing a service to? What about the lawsuits? About $870, $900 million of all the lawsuits to all of the victims? What about that? Would you, a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of settlements. Does that count for anything? Does that count for anything? J.P. Morgan lawsuits paid to whom? Kelly, look it up. Look at this. Go to ChatGPT. They'll tell you specifically. Look it up. You do, you have to research this a little bit. It's all there. There's nothing that... There are a lot of the victims, by the way, who do not want you to repeat who they are. They do not want you to say who they are. So, again, we're just kind of, at this point, we're going to yelling and screaming about the list, and that's not the issue. The issue is, how could Pam Bondi have been so stupid? How could she have been so stupid to get ahead of this? And now that they ran out the clock, if they do reveal anything, if they do reveal the list, President Trump's going to have to figure out that the list that he puts out is in fact the list he wants. Because if the Democrats get the chance to put out their list, they're going to put in victims and names. Why hasn't Trump been... Why hasn't he had one thing? Let me do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's go here. Let's go to chat. Now, the chat's been pretty good about this. Has President Trump settled or been sued, or has he been connected with any lawsuit or any victim claim by anybody involved in the Epstein matter? That was the question I asked. That's the question I asked. And he says, yes. It says Trump has been connected to multiple lawsuits. Jane Doe versus Trump and Epstein. In 2016, a plaintiff filed a federal civil lawsuit alleging that Trump and Epstein, her, when she was 13 at Epstein's Manhattan residence in 1994. The case was dismissed in May of 2016, refiled in November, then voluntarily dropped. So that's one. Katie Johnson versus Trump and Epstein. Another suit alleged that Trump and Epstein physically abused a 13-year-old minor under threat of harm. That lawsuit was also dismissed. Okay. None of these claims went to trial or resulted in judgments against Trump. They were either dismissed by courts or withdrawn by the plaintiffs, often after intense scrutiny or reported death threats, or reportedly due to threats, is what they're saying. In October of 2024, former model Stacey Williams claimed Epstein introduced her to Trump in '93 and that Trump groped her in Trump Tower in what she called a twisted game. She described it as part of Epstein's manipulation. Trump denies wrongdoing and no legal action followed. Conclusion: Trump has been named in civil suits that connected him to criminal activities alongside Epstein, particularly involving minors. However, both cases were dismissed without trial, and none led to legal findings. Now, E. Jean Carroll made it, all those other lawsuits as well. So the question is, that's the only thing we got to worry about. And if Trump's not involved, then does it really matter? Will you ever be satisfied with what you call the files being released? John Feeney says, I think DJT will come around and open the books. He says what his people demand. I'm a Pat Buchanan Trump Republican. Ooh, you're a paleo Republican. I stand with Bannon. DJT wants his daughter-in-law elected in North Carolina. Wants his daughter-in-law? I guess Lara? What do you think of Lara Trump? You notice Lara Trump is coming out. You think she's good? I mean, she does a very good, I think, a show on, or interview show on Fox News. Let me see. Oh, look at George in Texas writes, well, what's today's talking point? Peace in the Middle East? War in Ukraine? I mentioned war in Ukraine. Child predators in America? Nope, it's Epstein. Do you, George, does this kind of surprise you? Does this surprise you? I'm just saying. Are you, I'm looking at nothing but, I'm looking at these other, the left has been talking about this rather quietly. Do you think anybody wants to have a peace in the Middle East? Is that a story? There is no peace in the Middle East. Susie Q says, people want the dirt. That's like the National Enquirer. They're not going to stop till they get the dirt. Very voyeuristic. Let me explain something. It all comes down to, I hate to say it, Pam Bondi. You realize none of this was ever mentioned by anybody. Nobody cared about this before. I think I mentioned this before. Let me bring you some other. There were some very interesting stories. Let me see. Oh my God, there's so much great stuff. Let me see this. We mentioned yesterday Pissgate. Remember JP Morgan case? $290 million class action suit, plus $75 million, total of $365. Deutsche Bank, $251 million. It was HSBC, there were others, Bank of New York Mellon, Bank of America, there's other. Combined total about 616 or so million, plus there's the victims fund. Incredible. So there are, let me see, how many, this is important, how many total Epstein victims have there reported as being, whether they have settled or not? Again, right here. It always gives a citation. Victims' Compensation Fund has paid over $120 million to 150 claimants. Altogether, over 350 victims have received more than $284 million. I think it's more than that. I think there's been about, might be closer to $1 billion. Okay? This is huge. 650 victims known but not publicly reported. So, 1,000 plus victims identified by federal investigators. 1,000 investigators. 150 victims paid via the fund. 200 victims paid via the estate. And now this is enormous. Now, I don't think those people, I don't think they, very frankly, were all involving Ghislaine and Epstein. Do you? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. So the question is, how is it how is it that we or they, where are these people? So if you would like to know who were these, that's a lot of people. 1,000 plus victims, that's a lot of people. And over the years, who were they? And the list that you speak of could very easily be provided by sitting down with all of the various individuals, as I said before, and asking them individually, what is it that happened to you and who did it? That's it. That's it. Now let me ask you something, to my friends. What would you say to people who would say, I don't want my name listed? How would you do this? Would you want people's names listed who were accused but never charged? Accused, what would you like the list to say? 1 through 1,000, what do you want the list to say? The list says what? Name came up, proved, charged, what would you like? What would you like? Tell me what you would like, I'm curious. You want a list. For example, tell me what you would like. What would you like? No list, criminal privacy, you can't. Tell me what you would like. A list of 1,000 people's name. Let's say there's 500 perpetrators who did multiple victims. What would you like? I'm pretty sure that a short list could be created. A short list of what? Let's say it lists the name Dick Clark, Bill Gates. I'm just throwing names. And they say, wait a minute, I wasn't charged with this. Well, it's on the list. But why am I on the list? I was never a part of this. Nobody ever, I don't know what you're talking about. There may be, so tell me, I'm serious, I want you to focus. What is it that you would like the list to say that Pam Bondi brought up? What kind of list would you like? What would you like? What would you like? Short list of people that would be repeated accused. You want to have a list of people who were merely accused with no criminal charges, just your name. What if you, just what I'm saying, God forbid, what if your name appeared on it and you were accused? What would you think about this? See, nobody really knows what they're talking about. They just throw these names out. They throw these words out. They throw these ideas out. They throw this idea, they just talk about lists. And well, what do you want the list to show? John Feeney writes, this is America. Name them if charged. If not charged, no names. A grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. The great Saul Wachtler said that. Again, what would make you happy? A list of people who never were charged, whose name came up. Somebody said, Virginia Giuffre said that during the course of this, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, let's say hypothetically, did some terrible things to her. Or that there were some hinky things. Or that they were whatever. And that maybe she was... Now, what if the people, I know this doesn't matter, but what if the people who were involved in this did not know these people were underage? I've always asked that. How are you supposed to know? If you're involved in something, let's say you're at the Epstein villas or whatever it is, and there is a girl who is giving you a massage. Did anybody just get a massage? Did Ethel Kennedy get a massage or George Stephanopoulos? Because a lot of people just went there just, believe it or not, just to go. But how are you supposed to know? If you're someplace else and you're out, I'm dead serious. There is no excuse. You know there is no legal defense. But what are you supposed to do? And let's say the accusation was made without you ever knowing it. Let's say somebody goes to the Southern District of New York and says, you know who did it? Mr. Rogers did this. Mr. Rogers? Yeah. I'm just curious. What do you think? Just let it go. Let's protect the perpetrators. Austin, what would you like the perpetrators? Again, nobody's answering the question. You realize how difficult this is, and when you feel the frustration of it, you just say, well, fine, and let them go. No, I got to ask you a question. How would you like to do this? What does it say? You're going to mention these girls' names? What if they said, oh, no, don't mention my name. Don't mention my name. Don't mention my name. That was a long time ago. This is behind. Okay. Well, do you mind if I mention the perpetrator's name? Perpetrator says, who did this? I can't tell you who. Jane Doe. Jane Doe? What do you mean Jane Doe? Do you see where we're going with this? Do you see how difficult this is? All of the cameras at Epstein properties were there for a reason. Absolutely, Tracy. Absolutely. What would you like to do with that? What would you like to do with this? And for all says, this is non-productive. What does that mean? What does that mean? You see, I'm asking you, and when you can't answer the question, and I don't blame you, you say, Jesus, I never thought about this. I'm not sure what I want. I don't know what they even mean by the list. I just have been saying this like a barking, squawking dog. Arr, arr, arr. It's a seal, I guess. About the list. I don't know what the hell the list is. What is it? I don't even know what I'm talking about. What list? I never thought about it before. I thought there was a list. We have 1,000. I don't know. And what if, let's say, and that's why Trump's got to get ahead of it. Somebody from the prior administration says, I've got a list and Trump's on it. You see where this is going with this, my friends? Somebody writes, what if it's freaking obvious? What's freaking obvious? List of Cayman Island banks. What about list of Cayman Island banks? The videos. The videos themselves may contain underage girls doing things. It may be against the law to even be in possession of the videos. John Feeney says, you can't name names if not charged. Mentioning anyone's name makes everyone vulnerable. But what are you supposed to, it's a good point, but what are you supposed to do when you have young people at the time who said, I don't want you to mention my name? You can't put the videos out, that's horrible. What do you want? Nobody knows what this list even means. They just have been talking about it before they've been asking, like, I don't even know what the hell a list is. I don't even know how this works. And then you can always just say, USS Liberty. Remember, throw that one out. When you don't know what to say, throw out USS Liberty. Yesterday we had some really weird, inclement weather, really bad weather. And whenever something bad happens with the weather, what do we always say? DARPA. Excuse me, HARP. HARP. What about HARP? HARP! If they have people they can charge legitimately, charge them. Thank you, Sean. I think we're past that, though. I think we're beyond that. I think a lot of these cases might be 20 years old. Who knows? We know nothing. None of this would have happened without Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, everything was done. People said, well, not Pam. She brought it because she was on Fox News. Collect all 12 lists and win a free Epstein Island t-shirt. There you go. You are funny. Anyway, my friends, thank you for this. This was pretty doggone good. Half an hour's worth. I'd like to start off with you because you help me, you hone my questions, because now I'm going to be on WABC at 1 a.m., which is going to be in about 3.5 minutes. And I'm going to pick it up from there. Don't forget, Saturday night, Cutting Room, my friends. Let's see you there. Thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful piece. Thank you, John Feeney. Thank you, my friend. And you've been terrific. And Mr. Ryan, thank you as well. Thank yous for your kindness and your great questions. And don't forget Liberty. Just mention USS Liberty. Just say USS Liberty. Huh? Just say it. And this, I don't know. Harp. Bilderberg. Anyway, I love you guys. You're the best. You know that? Seriously, you are the best. Talk to you soon. Getting ready to go on the air. Have a great and glorious day. Until then, my friend, remember the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Pardon my thumb.